In forests shaped by rivers and shadow, the jaguar moves with quiet strength through landscapes of water, roots, and dense vegetation. Its presence reflects a balance between predator and prey that has developed over thousands of years across the Americas. As both hunter and symbol, the jaguar occupies a place within ecosystems and human cultures alike, linking the rhythms of the natural world with stories passed down through generations. Part 1. Origins. The jaguar belongs to a lineage of cats whose origins stretch back through deep geological time, into landscapes that bore little resemblance to the dense tropical forests that many of them inhabit today. Its ancestors were part of an ancient radiation of early felids that moved across Eurasia before gradually spreading into the Americas. During the great migrations that accompanied falling sea levels in past ice ages, land bridges connected continents that are now separated by oceans. Across one such bridge between Asia and North America moved early members of the genus Panthera, the group that would eventually give rise to lions, leopards, tigers, and jaguars. From these ancestral cats emerged the lineage adapted to forests, wetlands, and river valleys, rather than open grasslands. As climates shifted and glaciers advanced and retreated, populations moved southward into Central and South America, where dense vegetation and extensive waterways created environments rich in ambush opportunities. Over many thousands of years, the jaguar became the dominant large predator of these ecosystems. Fossil remains indicate that ancient jaguars once lived as far north as what is now the southern portion of the United States, inhabiting woodlands and floodplains where large herbivores were abundant. Compared with its relatives, the jaguar developed a more compact and heavily muscled body. This build reflects an evolutionary emphasis on strength rather than endurance. In environments where thick vegetation limited long pursuits, success depended on the ability to overpower prey in a sudden, explosive encounter. The shortening of the limbs and the widening of the skull provided leverage for the jaw muscles, allowing an extraordinary bite force to develop over time. The teeth of the jaguar also reveal its ancestry and ecological role. The canines are thick and robust, capable of penetrating hide, shell, and bone. The carnassial teeth behind them are shaped for shearing flesh, enabling the animal to process a wide variety of prey. Unlike cats that specialize in chasing animals across open terrain, the jaguar's ancestors gradually adapted to hunting within layered habitats that included water, mud, and tangled roots. This ecological flexibility would later allow the species to expand into mangroves, swamps, rainforests, and dry forests alike. Ancient relatives of the jaguar shared the landscape with now vanished megafauna. In the late Pleistocene epoch, these cats encountered giant ground sloths, prehistoric horses, and armored glyptodonts, whose shells rivaled those of modern turtles in thickness. The jaguar's distinctive method of killing, involving a bite delivered through the skull, may have arisen during this period as a way to deal with heavily protected prey. Such a technique required immense strength but minimized prolonged struggle, reducing the risk of injury in close quarters. Genetic studies suggest that although jaguars today inhabit a wide geographic range, they remain remarkably similar across that range. Populations in river basins, mountain foothills, and coastal wetlands show only subtle differences in size or coat pattern, often reflecting local environmental conditions rather than long periods of isolation. This continuity points to a history in which movement between regions remained possible for much of the species' existence, allowing genes to flow across landscapes through dispersing individuals. In the tropical Americas, The jaguar became embedded not only in ecological systems, but also in the rhythms of rivers and seasonal floods. Its ancestors learned to navigate channels and lagoons, to swim across currents, and to exploit prey that ventured into water. Over generations, this association with aquatic environments distinguished it from other large cats, which often avoid immersion whenever possible. As forests expanded and contracted with changing climates, jaguars followed the distribution of prey, retreating into refuges during dry periods and expanding their range when vegetation returned. The ability to move silently through dense cover, combined with the power to subdue animals much larger than itself, allowed the species to persist, even as competitors rose and fell. In this way, the jaguar represents the culmination of a long evolutionary journey shaped by shifting continents, changing climates, and the constant interplay between predator and prey. Through this deep ancestry, the jaguar inherited a suite of traits that would define its role as an apex predator in the New World. Its muscular frame, crushing bite, and affinity for water are not recent developments, but the result of countless generations adapting to environments where stealth and strength determine survival. Part 2. Habitats. Across its range, the jaguar occupies a remarkable variety of habitats, each shaped by water, vegetation, elevation, and the seasonal movement of prey. The greatest strongholds of the species lie within tropical rainforests, where dense canopies filter sunlight into shifting patterns of shadow and reflection that drift slowly across the forest floor. In these environments, thick understory growth creates a mosaic of concealment, allowing a predator to move unseen through layers of leaves, vines, buttress roots, and fallen branches that accumulate over time. Rivers wind through these forests in broad arcs, forming oxbow lakes and flooded basins that attract animals seeking drinking water, mineral-rich soils, or aquatic vegetation. In the Amazon basin, seasonal rains transform entire landscapes into shallow wetlands. Forest floors may remain submerged for weeks or even months, creating floating meadows where fish, reptiles, amphibians, and mammals gather in search of food or refuge. Jaguars in these regions move easily between land and water, using fallen logs and tangled roots as pathways through flooded terrain. The presence of slow-moving streams and backwater lagoons supports populations of turtles, caimans, capybaras, and wading birds, all of which become potential prey. The structure of the rainforest favors ambush, with visibility often limited to only a few body lengths. Sound becomes a primary cue in such places, as the rustle of leaves or the splash of a drinking animal may reveal an opportunity otherwise hidden by foliage. Further south, the Pantanal represents one of the largest seasonal wetlands on the planet. Here, grasslands alternate with gallery forests that follow the course of rivers and streams. During the rainy season, vast plains fill with water, creating shallow lakes that attract grazing mammals and aquatic reptiles. In the dry months, these waters recede, concentrating animals along shrinking shorelines and exposing muddy flats where tracks accumulate. Jaguars living in this habitat frequently patrol riverbanks and marsh edges, where the movement of prey is constrained by open ground or soft soil. The abundance of fish and reptiles encourages a close association with water, and individuals may spend long periods resting in shade near channels or lagoons before beginning to hunt. In Central America, mangrove swamps and coastal forests provide another refuge. Salt-tolerant trees extend their roots into tidal channels, forming dense networks that shelter fish, crustaceans, and small mammals. Jaguars that inhabit these regions may hunt along estuaries where fresh water meets the sea. The shifting tides influence the behavior of prey species, creating periods of activity that can be anticipated by a patient predator waiting near a narrow crossing point or along a muddy bank. In more arid environments, such as the thorn scrublands of northern Mexico, jaguars adapt to seasonal scarcity. Vegetation becomes sparse and permanent water sources are limited to rivers or springs that persist through dry months. In these areas, the cats often remain close to riparian corridors, where trees and shrubs offer shade and concealment. The presence of rocky outcrops and steep ravines can provide resting sites during the heat of the day, as well as vantage points from which to observe the movement of deer or smaller mammals approaching water. Mountain foothills present yet another variation. Forests here may consist of pine and oak rather than tropical hardwoods, and temperatures fluctuate more widely between day and night. Jaguars that inhabit these elevations move along game trails that wind through valleys and ridges shaped by erosion and rainfall. Mist may settle in lower areas during cooler mornings, while warmer slopes support shrubs and grasses that attract browsing animals. The terrain demands careful navigation, with steep inclines and loose soil affecting the pursuit of prey. Throughout these habitats, the distribution of the jaguar is closely tied to the availability of water. Even in drier regions, the species seldom strays far from rivers, wetlands, or lakes. These waterways support the herbivores and omnivores upon which the jaguar depends, while also providing cooling opportunities in warm climates. The ability to swim with ease allows the animal to cross channels that might deter other predators, expanding its effective territory and permitting access to isolated patches of forest or marsh. Vegetation density, prey abundance, seasonal flooding patterns, and elevation combine to shape the daily movements of jaguars. Some individuals may patrol forest edges where open ground meets dense cover, while others remain deep within flooded woodlands where prey paths intersect with water channels. In each case, the habitat provides both concealment and opportunity, enabling the jaguar to exploit the movements of animals that come to drink, forage, or rest near water. This adaptability to diverse environments has allowed the species to persist across a broad geographic range. From mangrove-lined coasts to upland forests, seasonal wetlands, and scrub-covered valleys, the jaguar's presence reflects an enduring association with habitats that blend cover, water, and prey into a landscape suited to stealth and strength. Part 3. Prey. The jaguar is an opportunistic predator whose diet reflects both the diversity of habitats it occupies and the abundance of prey within those habitats. Across tropical forests, wetlands, riverbanks, and scrublands, it hunts a wide variety of animals that range in size from small reptiles to large hoofed mammals. This flexibility allows the species to persist in environments where prey availability may change with the seasons or fluctuate from year to year. In rainforest regions, medium-sized mammals often form a significant portion of the diet. Species such as peccaries, agoutis, pacas, and armadillos move through dense vegetation in search of fruit, roots, or insects. These animals frequently follow established paths that wind through the forest understory, creating predictable routes that a patient predator can exploit. Capybaras, the largest rodents in the world, may also become prey, especially near water, where they gather in groups to graze or rest. In the wetlands of the Pantanal, aquatic and semi-aquatic animals are hunted with notable frequency. Caimans bask along riverbanks or drift quietly in shallow water, while turtles emerge onto sandbars to nest. Fish may be taken in shallow pools during the dry season, when receding water concentrates them in isolated pockets. Jaguars in these regions have been observed feeding on reptiles as often as mammals, reflecting the accessibility of such prey near waterways. Green anacondas, among the largest snakes in the world, may also become prey for adult jaguars, particularly in wetland environments where both species share the same river systems and marshlands. Encounters most often occur along riverbanks, in shallow lagoons, or within flooded forests. Anacondas rely on camouflage and stillness to ambush mammals or birds that approach the water's edge. Jaguars, however, move through these same habitats while searching for prey such as capybaras, turtles, or caimans. When a snake is detected resting near the surface or moving slowly through vegetation, the jaguar may attempt an attack. Using its powerful forelimbs to control the body of the snake, the jaguar aims a bite toward the head or neck. Its bite force is sufficient to pierce the skull or sever the spinal column, quickly immobilizing the reptile before it can coil effectively. This reduces the risk of constriction, which could otherwise be dangerous even for a large predator. Such hunts are relatively uncommon compared with the hunting of mammals, yet they demonstrate the ecological versatility of the species. Larger herbivores are also within the jaguar's capacity to hunt. Deer species that browse on leaves or graze along forest edges may be targeted when they approach rivers to drink. Tapirs, which are among the largest land mammals in the jaguar's range, occasionally fall victim to ambush attacks near muddy trails or water crossings. In open grasslands or savannas, young cattle or feral pigs may become part of the diet when wild prey is scarce. Although the jaguar is sometimes described in terms of regional forms rather than formal subspecies, differences in prey choice do emerge across its distribution. In wetter environments with abundant reptiles, turtles, caimans, and large snakes may represent some of the largest animals taken. The powerful jaws of the jaguar allow it to pierce the shells of turtles or deliver a killing bite through the skull of a reptile, a method that reduces prolonged struggle. In forested uplands, where large reptiles are less common, hoofed mammals such as deer or peccaries may represent the largest prey available. These animals are often taken near trails that lead to water sources, where movement becomes constrained by terrain or vegetation. In more open scrublands, feral livestock may occasionally be hunted, especially in regions where natural prey populations have declined. The diversity of prey hunted by jaguars is unusually broad for a large predator. Over many decades of observation, the species has been recorded feeding on more than 80 kinds of animals. This includes birds, fish, reptiles, amphibians, and mammals of various sizes. Such dietary breadth reflects an ecological role that is both adaptable and resilient, allowing the jaguar to function as an apex predator in ecosystems that differ greatly from one another. By preying upon herbivores and smaller predators alike, the jaguar influences the balance of animal communities within its habitat. Its presence can shape the behavior of prey species, which may alter feeding patterns or movement routes in response to the risk of ambush. In this way, the feeding habits of the jaguar contribute not only to its own survival, but also to the structure of the ecosystems it inhabits. Part 4. The hunt. The hunting strategies of the jaguar are shaped by environments where visibility is limited and opportunities for pursuit are brief. Rather than relying on sustained chases across open terrain, this predator depends upon stealth, patience, and sudden bursts of power. Movement through dense vegetation is deliberate and controlled, with each step placed carefully to avoid the sound of breaking twigs or rustling leaves. The patterned coat, marked by rosettes that fragment the outline of the body, allows it to blend into dappled light and shadow beneath the canopy, where shafts of sunlight shift slowly across the forest floor. When prey is detected, the jaguar may remain motionless for extended periods, observing from behind fallen logs, thick grass, or overhanging roots. The approach is often slow and indirect, using terrain features such as ridges, riverbanks, tree trunks, or clusters of shrubs to remain concealed. Distance is reduced gradually until a short rush becomes possible. The final advance may last only a few moments, yet it is delivered with explosive force that closes the gap before a target can react or turn to flee. The muscular structure of the jaguar reflects this reliance on close-range attacks. Broad shoulders and powerful forelimbs provide the strength needed to seize and restrain struggling prey. The hind limbs, though shorter than those of some other large cats, generate rapid acceleration over short distances rather than sustained speed. This combination allows the jaguar to leap forward from cover and bring its weight to bear in the first instant of contact. Once contact is made, the jaws deliver a decisive bite. Unlike many large cats that aim for the throat to induce suffocation, the jaguar frequently directs its bite toward the skull. The pressure exerted by the jaw muscles is sufficient to penetrate bone, reaching the brain and causing immediate incapacitation. In other cases, the bite may be applied to the neck, severing the spinal cord. This method reduces the duration of the struggle and minimizes the risk of injury from hooves, horns, claws, or teeth that might otherwise wound the predator. The ability to kill in this manner is especially important when hunting animals with protective features such as shells or thick hides. Turtles may be seized and bitten through the carapace, while reptiles such as caimans may be dispatched with a bite delivered behind the skull. Large snakes encountered near water may be controlled with the forelimbs, while a precise bite prevents coiling. In flooded habitats, attacks may take place at the water's edge, where prey are forced to move slowly through mud or shallow pools that limit their escape. Swimming plays a role in the jaguar's hunting repertoire that is unusual among large cats. Individuals may cross rivers or enter lagoons in pursuit of fish, reptiles, or mammals attempting to escape into water. The forelimbs can be used to pin prey against the substrate while the jaws secure a grip. This aquatic competence allows access to resources that remain beyond the reach of predators reluctant to enter water, expanding the range of potential hunting sites. Biomechanically, the jaguar's skull is deep and robust, providing extensive attachment sites for powerful jaw muscles. The short rostrum increases leverage, allowing greater force to be transmitted through the canines. The neck and shoulder muscles support the head during the delivery of the killing bite, stabilizing it against the movements of struggling prey. The flexible spine permits controlled movement through tangled undergrowth, enabling the animal to twist or adjust its position during a grapple. Climbing ability also contributes to hunting success. Smaller animals may be ambushed from low branches, and carcasses are sometimes carried into trees to avoid scavengers. Retractable claws provide traction on bark or soft soil, assisting in both the capture of prey and the transport of carcasses through uneven terrain. In areas where competitors or scavengers are numerous, this behavior may prevent the loss of a hard-won meal. Through the integration of stealth, strength, and specialized anatomy, the jaguar has become one of the most formidable ambush predators in the Americas. Its hunting techniques reflect a balance between concealment and sudden force, allowing it to subdue prey that might otherwise escape in environments where speed alone offers little advantage. Part 5. Family life. The family life of the jaguar unfolds in a pattern shaped by solitude, secrecy, and careful timing. Unlike social predators that live and hunt in groups, adult jaguars spend most of their lives alone, coming together only for brief periods associated with mating. The vast territories occupied by individuals may overlap at the edges, yet encounters between adults are generally infrequent and deliberate. Communication often occurs indirectly through scent marks deposited along trails, scratches on tree trunks, or vocalizations that travel across dense vegetation and waterways. When a female becomes receptive, she signals her presence through scent marking and low calls that carry through the forest or across wetlands during the stillness of early morning or evening. A male that detects these signs may approach cautiously, responding with vocalizations of his own. The pair may remain together for several days, moving through a shared area and resting near one another while mating occurs repeatedly. Once this period ends, they separate, and the male resumes his solitary movements through his territory, taking no further part in the care of any future offspring. After mating, the female begins a gestation period that lasts approximately 3 months. During this time, she may seek out areas that provide shelter and concealment, such as dense thickets, hollow logs, rocky crevices, or caves formed by erosion along riverbanks. These sites serve as temporary dens where cubs will be born and protected during their earliest stages of development. The selection of such a location reflects the need to minimize detection by predators or wandering males that might pose a threat. A typical litter consists of 1 to 4 cubs, though 2 is common. At birth, the cubs are blind and dependent, their spotted coats already patterned with rosettes that will aid in camouflage later in life. The mother remains close to the den for extended periods during the first weeks, leaving only briefly to hunt nearby. She must balance the need to obtain food with the risk of revealing the den's location through repeated movements or scent trails. As the cubs grow, their eyes open, and they begin to explore the immediate surroundings of the den. Play becomes an important part of development, allowing siblings to practice stalking, pouncing, and grappling with one another in a controlled setting. These activities refine the motor skills that will later be required for hunting. The mother may bring small prey back to the den, permitting the cubs to interact with it and learn how to bite or hold struggling animals without immediate danger. Over time, the cubs accompany their mother on short excursions away from the den. She may demonstrate hunting behavior by allowing them to observe an approach or by releasing captured prey so that they can attempt to subdue it themselves. Such lessons are gradual, with independence developing over many months. The young learn how to move quietly through vegetation, how to recognize the scent of prey, and how to remain concealed while approaching a target. During this period, the mother remains vigilant, protecting her offspring from potential threats posed by other predators or even adult male jaguars. Infanticide, though uncommon, may occur when a male encounters cubs that are not his own. In such cases, the female may attempt to move her young to a new den site, carrying them one by one to reduce the chance of discovery. Dispersal occurs as the cubs approach maturity, often after more than a year has passed. Young individuals begin to wander beyond the boundaries of their mother's territory, seeking areas where competition may be less intense. Males typically travel farther than females, sometimes covering great distances in search of suitable habitat and available space. This movement contributes to the exchange of genetic material between populations and reduces the likelihood of close inbreeding. Through this extended period of care, the female ensures that her offspring acquire the skills needed to survive in complex environments where success depends upon stealth, strength, and precise timing. The transition from dependence to independence is gradual, reflecting the challenges faced by a predator that must rely on ambush rather than endurance. In this way, the family life of the jaguar balances solitude with parental investment, allowing each new generation to inherit the behaviors required for survival in forests, wetlands, and river valleys. Part 6. Social bonds. Relationships between jaguars are defined by distance, territory, and subtle forms of communication that reduce the need for direct confrontation. Adult individuals maintain home ranges that may vary in size according to habitat quality, prey availability, and seasonal conditions. In areas where food is abundant and water is plentiful, territories may be smaller, allowing several individuals to occupy neighboring ranges without frequent encounters. Where prey is scarce or widely dispersed, these ranges expand, and the distances between individuals increase accordingly. Male territories often overlap with those of multiple females, creating a spatial arrangement in which access to potential mates is influenced by movement patterns rather than fixed boundaries. Females tend to maintain ranges that provide reliable hunting opportunities and secure den sites, while males patrol larger areas that encompass the ranges of several females. These overlapping territories are rarely defended through constant physical presence. Instead, scent marking serves as a primary means of communication, allowing individuals to interpret the recent activity of others through chemical cues. Urine, feces, and secretions from scent glands may be deposited along trails, at the base of trees, or near water sources. Scratches left on bark provide both a visual and olfactory signal, as the action exposes fresh wood, while transferring scent from glands located between the toes. These markings convey information about identity, reproductive status, and recent presence, enabling jaguars to assess the proximity of neighbors without direct contact. In this way, the landscape becomes a network of signals that individuals read as they move through their territories. Vocalizations also play a role in maintaining spacing between individuals. Low roars or cough-like calls may be used to announce presence within a territory, or to respond to distant calls from another jaguar. Such sounds travel through dense vegetation and across open wetlands, serving as an auditory boundary that reduces the likelihood of accidental encounters. These vocal exchanges may occur during periods of heightened activity, particularly when individuals are seeking mates or reinforcing territorial awareness. Interactions between males and females are most common during the mating period. Outside of this time, adults may avoid one another by altering travel routes or hunting schedules. In regions where prey congregates near limited water sources, temporary tolerance may occur, with individuals feeding at different times or moving through the same area without direct conflict. This flexibility allows access to essential resources without the risks associated with physical confrontation. Siblings share a different form of relationship during the early stages of life. Cubs raised within the same litter remain in close proximity for many months, engaging in play that reinforces coordination and balance while developing essential hunting skills. Wrestling, stalking, and pouncing on one another serve as practice for encounters with prey. These interactions also establish early hierarchies that may influence feeding order when food is limited. As they mature, competition for food may become more evident, yet cooperation during exploration or rest persists until dispersal begins. The shared experience of learning to hunt and navigate their environment strengthens these bonds temporarily. However, as independence approaches, these sibling relationships gradually weaken. Each individual begins to spend more time alone, venturing farther from the maternal range in search of suitable habitat. Encounters between dispersing siblings may occur for a time, though these become less frequent as territories are established. Males often travel greater distances than females, increasing the likelihood of encounters with unfamiliar individuals. Such meetings may result in avoidance behaviors or, in some cases, brief confrontations that determine access to space. Through this system of indirect communication and spatial organization, jaguars maintain relationships that balance the need for access to resources with the avoidance of unnecessary conflict. The use of scent, sound, and movement patterns allows individuals to navigate complex social landscapes while preserving the solitude that characterizes their way of life in forests, wetlands, and river valleys. Part 7. Rivals. Despite its position as an apex predator, the jaguar exists within ecosystems that include other large carnivores and formidable reptiles capable of competing for food, territory, or access to prey. These interactions are shaped by differences in habitat use, hunting strategies, and daily patterns of activity. In many regions, the jaguar shares its environment with species that exploit similar prey, creating the potential for competition, even when direct encounters are uncommon. In forested areas of South America, the puma occupies a partially overlapping ecological niche. Both predators hunt mammals such as deer and peccaries, yet they often differ in their preferred hunting sites. Jaguars tend to remain closer to watercourses and dense cover, where ambush opportunities are more frequent, while pumas may utilize steeper slopes, rocky ridges, or more open woodland. This spatial separation reduces direct conflict, though competition for prey may still occur where resources are limited or seasonal conditions bring animals into shared feeding grounds. Ocelots and other smaller wildcats inhabit many of the same forests and wetlands. These species typically focus on smaller prey, including rodents, birds, and reptiles. However, the presence of a larger predator can influence their behavior significantly. Smaller cats may avoid areas frequented by jaguars, altering their activity patterns or hunting locations to reduce the risk of encounter. In some cases, this avoidance may shift feeding times toward hours when the larger predator is less active. In wetland habitats, such as the Pantanal and Amazonian floodplains, large reptiles may represent both prey and potential rivals. Caimans share riverbanks and lagoons with jaguars, and although they are often hunted, adult individuals are capable of defending themselves if threatened. Encounters at the water's edge may involve cautious observation by both predator and reptile before one retreats. Such interactions reflect a balance between opportunity and risk, as injury to a predator may have serious consequences for its ability to hunt successfully in the future. Large constrictor snakes also inhabit these waterways and flooded forests. Green anacondas and large boas move through the same channels and marshlands in search of mammals or birds approaching water. These snakes rely on ambush in a manner similar to the jaguar, remaining concealed until prey passes within reach. Although the jaguar may hunt such reptiles, the relationship is not entirely one-sided. A large snake encountered unexpectedly may attempt to defend itself by coiling or striking. Juvenile jaguars, in particular, may be vulnerable to such attacks if they approach without caution. Other predators may compete indirectly by targeting similar prey species. Large birds of prey, foxes, or mustelids may remove smaller animals that would otherwise contribute to the jaguar's diet. Although these competitors do not challenge the jaguar directly, their presence may influence the distribution and abundance of prey populations over time. Scavengers also play a role in shaping the jaguar's interactions with other species. Carcasses, left unattended, may attract vultures, foxes, or other opportunistic feeders. To reduce the likelihood of losing a kill, jaguars may drag prey into dense vegetation or up into low branches where access by scavengers is more difficult. This behavior conserves energy by prolonging the availability of a food source that required considerable effort to obtain. In some regions, feral dogs or other introduced predators may compete indirectly by reducing populations of prey species or by disturbing animals that would otherwise be hunted. This competition does not require direct contact to influence the jaguar's success, as diminished prey availability may force individuals to expand their ranges or alter hunting patterns. Young jaguars are more vulnerable to threats than adults. While mature, individuals have few natural enemies. Cubs may be at risk from predators capable of locating dens or encountering them during excursions. Large reptiles and snakes present an additional danger in wetland habitats, particularly where dense vegetation limits visibility. Through these varied interactions, the jaguar navigates a community of predators, reptiles, and scavengers that influence its access to food and space. The balance between competition and avoidance reflects the complexity of ecosystems in which multiple carnivores coexist, each adapting to the presence of others while seeking the resources required for survival. Part 8. Human history. Throughout much of its range, the jaguar has occupied not only forests and wetlands, but also the imagination of human societies that lived alongside it. In many regions of Central and South America, the animal came to be associated with strength, darkness, and the unseen forces of the night. Its ability to move silently through dense vegetation, to swim across rivers, and to appear suddenly from concealment contributed to an image of a creature that existed between worlds, both physical and spiritual. Among ancient civilizations, the jaguar was often regarded as a symbol of power and authority. In Mesoamerican cultures, it appeared in art, sculpture, and ceremonial dress. Leaders and warriors sometimes wore garments patterned with spots or fashioned from pelts, reflecting a belief that the qualities of the animal could be transferred through association. The Aztecs considered the jaguar the king of animals, a title that reflected its perceived dominance within the forests and its role as a master of stealth and strength. Elite warriors known as jaguar warriors were associated with this symbolism, representing courage, discipline, and the capacity to confront formidable opponents in battle. In addition to its association with warfare, the jaguar was linked with the night, the underworld, and the cycles of life and death. Its nocturnal habits and powerful presence contributed to a perception that it moved freely between realms. Stories passed down through generations describe the jaguar as a guardian of forests, or as a spirit capable of transformation. In some traditions, shamans were believed to assume the form of a jaguar during rituals, moving between the physical and spiritual worlds in search of guidance or protection. Among the Maya, the jaguar was closely associated with rulership and the authority of kings, who were believed to embody its strength. Deities connected with darkness and the night were sometimes depicted with jaguar features, reinforcing the belief that the animal possessed access to hidden knowledge or supernatural power. The spotted coat was occasionally interpreted as representing the stars scattered across the night sky, strengthening its connection with celestial forces and the passage of time. In regions of the Amazon, oral traditions describe the jaguar as a being capable of speech or thought, attributing to it an intelligence comparable to that of humans. Some stories portrayed it as a teacher or guardian that could punish those who disrespected the forest. Others described it as a trickster, whose actions reminded listeners of the balance between caution and courage. Historical interactions between jaguars and human communities have varied across regions and periods. In areas where wild prey remained abundant and forests remained intact, encounters were often rare, with both species avoiding one another. However, as human settlements expanded into forested or wetland habitats, contact became more frequent. The clearing of land for agriculture or grazing reduced the availability of natural prey, sometimes prompting jaguars to hunt domestic animals when opportunities arose. Livestock losses occasionally led to retaliatory actions by humans seeking to protect their herds. In certain circumstances, jaguars that had become accustomed to human presence were reported to attack people. Such incidents were uncommon and often associated with individuals that were injured, displaced, or otherwise unable to hunt their usual prey. Habitat loss, declining prey populations, or environmental disturbances could increase the likelihood of such encounters by bringing jaguars into closer proximity with villages or farms situated near forest edges or riverbanks. In regions where traditional beliefs persisted, the killing of a jaguar might be accompanied by rituals intended to acknowledge its significance and the perceived balance between human needs and natural forces. Elsewhere, fear and economic pressures shaped attitudes toward the species, influencing decisions about land use or wildlife management practices. Through mythological symbolism and practical experience alike, the jaguar has remained a powerful presence in human culture. Its image continues to appear in stories, art, carvings, textiles, and folklore, reflecting a relationship that blends admiration with caution. As landscapes changed and communities grew, this relationship evolved, shaped by both the enduring qualities of the animal and the shifting needs of human societies that share its environment. Part 9. Conservation. The continued survival of the jaguar depends upon the preservation of habitats that provide sufficient cover, prey, and access to water. Across its range, forests and wetlands have been altered by agricultural expansion, infrastructure development, mining, logging, and the growth of settlements. These changes may fragment landscapes that once supported continuous populations, separating individuals into smaller groups that are less able to move freely between suitable areas. Habitat fragmentation can disrupt established territories and limit opportunities for dispersal, particularly among young individuals seeking to establish their own ranges. When movement between habitats becomes difficult, genetic exchange between populations may decline, increasing the risk of isolation over time. Corridors of vegetation that connect forest patches can help maintain these movements, allowing jaguars to travel between regions without crossing open land where concealment is limited. River systems often function as natural pathways, guiding the movement of both predators and prey through otherwise fragmented terrain. Prey availability also influences the conservation status of the species. The reduction of herbivore populations through hunting or environmental change may compel jaguars to seek alternative food sources, sometimes bringing them into closer proximity with human settlements. In such situations, livestock may become part of the diet, increasing the likelihood of conflict. Efforts to support healthy populations of wild prey can therefore reduce the frequency of these encounters and contribute to a more stable relationship between predators and human communities. Protected areas play an important role in safeguarding habitats where jaguars can hunt and reproduce without disturbance. However, the effectiveness of these regions depends upon their size and connectivity. Small reserves may support only a limited number of individuals, making them vulnerable to environmental fluctuations or disease. Larger landscapes that incorporate rivers, wetlands, and forest corridors provide greater stability by accommodating natural movements and seasonal shifts in prey distribution. Community involvement is often essential in conservation initiatives. Programs that address livestock management, land use practices, or compensation for losses may reduce retaliatory actions against predators. Educational efforts that highlight the ecological role of the jaguar can also influence perceptions, encouraging coexistence where possible. In some areas, improved fencing or the use of guardian animals has been introduced to reduce losses among domesticated herds. Monitoring through camera traps and field surveys provides information about population trends and habitat use. Such data may guide decisions regarding land management or the designation of protected areas. In some regions, transboundary cooperation between neighboring countries has been established to support the movement of wildlife across political boundaries, recognizing that ecosystems extend beyond national borders. Climate patterns may also influence the distribution of suitable habitat over time. Changes in rainfall or temperature could affect vegetation, water availability, and the abundance of prey species. Maintaining large and connected habitats may therefore increase the resilience of jaguar populations in the face of environmental change, allowing them to adjust their ranges in response to shifting conditions. Through these combined measures, conservation strategies seek to balance human needs with the preservation of ecosystems that sustain the jaguar. The outcome of these efforts will shape the future of a species whose presence reflects the health of forests, wetlands, and river systems throughout the Americas, linking ecological stability with the long-term persistence of one of the most powerful predators in the New World. The end.